Welcome to the Brazilian Beat. Join us as we get to know the Brazilian percussion and music making community one interview at a time. This is episode 112 with Robert Lopez. This is Courtney.
And this is Diana. Hi there.
Hello.
Well, this week we have a friend of ours from California Brazil Camp, and he's got a really interesting story.
Yes.
This is Robert Lopez, and he is a percussionist and educator based in the San Francisco Bay Area. His background in various types of music, such as folkloric traditions of Brazil, Ghana, and Cuba, alongside temporary chamber music and free improvisation, allow him to maintain a malleable approach to sharing musical ideas. He holds a Bachelor's of Music from Cal State University, Long Beach, and a Master of Fine Arts with an emphasis in improvisation from Mills College. Since 2011, he has been an active member of the Bay Area music community, working with the group So Are, the Oakland Active Orchestra, Quatuor Elefantis, Grex, and Jordan Glenn's Beak, among others. He has been a dance accompanist at Mills College, UC Berkeley, ODC, and Sonoma State. Since 2014, he has maintained a close relationship with master drummer Jorge Alabay. This partnership has led to awards from the Fulbright U.S. Student Program for Projects Cultural Transmission through the Music of Candomblé and Investigating the Language of Candomblé Drumming. Also a grant from the Alliance for California Traditional Arts Apprenticeship Program, and first place in the Brazilian category with Grupo Samba Rio and San Francisco Carnival 2018 and 2019. He currently teaches drum set and hand percussion at the San Francisco Community Music Center and the San Francisco Waldorf High School. Yeah, so Robert's story is really unique, and from the effects of COVID, his situation was even more unique. So I think you guys will appreciate this story and really enjoy what he has to say.
Yeah, he's such a good soul too.
He is. We have such a good time with him at camp. Just hilarious guy too.
We also have another first for this podcast. Another interview first. Last time we had our first mom on the podcast, and this time it's going to be our first guinea pig.
Yay.
Hey.
So if you're watching on the YouTube channel.
Yeah. I don't know what timestamp it is, but about halfway. More toward the end.
Guinea pig appearance.
Yes. Keep your eyes open. We're having a little fundraiser to buy a couple subscriptions and pay for our website fees. So if you would like to support us, please go to Ko-fi, ko-fi/the Brazilian Beat, and you can join our community of support. And thank you very much. There's also a free way to support us by rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts and telling friends.
I think they can also give us ratings on Spotify as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I believe so.
Cool. Yeah,
anywhere you're at, just give us a 5-star rating.
I don't think you could do that on Google Podcasts. I don't think you can rate people.
I'm not sure. I haven't listened via that mode.
Yeah. GoSamba.net, still selling drums. They're selling out of caixas. They're going fast, people. I know.
That's great.
I need to bring some more in. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast, and we'll talk to you on the other side. Diana, how are you doing this morning?
I'm okay. I think I broke my toe, and my cat's being a brat, but I'm okay.
My goodness.
Yeah. Who do we have on the podcast today?
We have our friend from California Brazil Camp, Robert Lopez. Welcome.
Hi, y'all. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's it's quite an honor. It's awesome. I really appreciate all that y'all do with this. So thank you. Thanks for asking.
Thanks for being on.
You're welcome.
I mean, I think we asked you like 2 years ago, and then it's kind of
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah. The story gets more interesting, right?
Yeah.
So we like to start at the beginning of folks' musical journey. So can you tell us about, where you grew up? Was your family musical? Kind of what's your beginnings into music?
Yeah, so I'm from Southern California. I'm from not the city of LA, but LA County. LA is like a giant sprawling area. So from there, my dad's a drummer, and so I learned from my dad. He he's been playing for like his whole life since he was like 3 years old or
Oh,
something,
wow.
and he started playing professionally when he was like 13.
Oh, shit.
Playing drum set, playing like a lot of like funk and R&B and Latin music. And so, I think he was 21 when I was born. And so he was still playing. At that time he was like working full time at UPS. But then he was like still gigging on the weekends and playing all the time, and so yeah, I learned from him. I think, I was always going with him to gigs and to rehearsals, going with him to like load in and set up, and I would just, go sit behind the drums and like mess around, or the drums would be set up at home and I would just go, just play and stuff. And then I think it was like I remember when I was like, it wasn't until I was like 9 or 10 or so, where he's like, all right, this is how you play, like a drum beat, like a basic backbeat. And he kind of, he showed me how to do that. And I remember like getting really frustrated, and I couldn't really do that. And then he like left the room, and then I spent some time and I was able to do it. And yeah, so I kind of just would hang out and just follow him around. I didn't ever do there wasn't music in any of the schools I went to, none of the programs or anything like that. None of the elementary school, or
Hmm.
I don't think there was anything middle school either. And then high school. By that time, I was just like, I don't know. I was pretty anti any club or organized
Yeah.
thing at that moment in time. But yeah, but I've always really, really been into music. Like I think, had I not met my teacher Steve Mosier, when I was like 21 or something, 2021, he kind of, you know, helped guide me a lot and really inspired me. And, then I began to do like formal music study, but I was just around music and just into it like a lot, like from very, very young age.
What age was that you met your teacher then and
I
started getting
was,
more?
yeah, when I met Steve, his name was Steve Mosier. I met him at Rio Hondo College, and I graduated high school. I was 18, and then I think I was either 20 or 21 when I met him.
Mm.
And he was first my music theory teacher, and then he taught an ensemble there, so I started playing marimba and vibraphone there, and
Hmm.
and then eventually studied drum set and snare drum stuff with him too. So privately after
Yeah,
like a year
right on.
of class there.
Yeah.
So did you make music your major
Yeah, yeah,
at
I
that point?
did at that point.
Hmm.
Yeah, like right after high school, I mean, in my immediate family, I'm like first generation college, and so like I really had no idea what to
Hmm.
do. So I first started like, I was like, maybe I want to study math, maybe I want to study art. I had no idea what I was
Mm.
doing, and then I met this person, and then I met Steve, and I just kind of, I was just like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with my time, with my life, and I just really, um, yeah, it just made sense to me.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when did you then encounter Brazilian music?
I didn't encounter Brazilian music until after that. So, um, that would have been like 2003 when I first met my teacher, Steve, and I did all this like, like a associate's degree and stuff. I again, like first generation college student, I had, it took me a long time to figure out like what to do, and I mean, there's a lot there, but I,
I mean, there's a lot to going to college that, like, if you come from a family that goes to
Yeah.
college, you automatically sort of know, you absorb that information. If you don't, like,
Hmm.
people don't know how to translate that to, I don't know. I worked at a community college, and that was a big part of it, is like just help me guide people through the process, because
yeah.
it's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of was in that same boat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's complicated. And then once you figure it out, like, you got to see a counselor, you got to take all these courses. It's like
Right.
you just need help. And I think at that school at Rio Hondo, there were people that had been going there for like a long time, um, which is fine. But I do think that people have this aspiration of wanting to, be the person in their family that goes to a university and finishes, or they just want to do that for themselves and they want to get out of um, whatever type of job they've been doing, which is kind of where I was at, and it's tough to figure out.
Yeah.
It's tricky, yeah. So I would eventually like to work at a community college. I would be super down, but yeah, it's competitive out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
Oh,
is.
but I think you had asked Brazilian music, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get a little sidetracked, but
Mhm.
so I went through the community college and did my associate's degree, and then I transferred to Cal State Long Beach, which is like, not too far away from where I was living and where I was doing community college at, like 30, 40-minute drive depending on traffic. And I transferred to Cal State Long Beach to study percussion, to be a percussion major, to do a bachelor's degree. And
Mhm.
I started in 2007. And yeah, that program, it was amazing. And our teacher, he was the his name was Dr. Michael Carney. He had we had different groups. We had to do like you had to do like some sort of wind ensemble, like orchestra wind ensemble. You had to do percussion ensemble, which is like contemporary percussion repertoire. Had to do a steel band, like steel pan stuff, and then you had to
Mhm.
do it was world was it world music, world percussion? I can't even remember, but um, and that was either Ghanaian Ewe music or samba. So in the fall it was Ewe, in the spring it was
Hmm.
samba, I believe. And so that's when I first got. I really didn't know much about Brazilian music, and then even then we did like he would teach us samba, and then it was like I was like, okay, this is cool. I wasn't really like super crazy about it, but then we had this program called the it was called the World Percussion Project, which our teacher had started. I don't know how many years before that, and initially he would take people to Ghana. So he'd taken students to Ghana,
Mhm.
and I think he'd been a professor there for like I want to say 20-ish years. So he'd been doing he hadn't been doing this thing that for that long, but he started taking people to Ghana, and then he put together a program to take people to Brazil. And at the time I was like 25, and I didn't grow up traveling or anything like that, and I really was interested in it and wanted to, and so I had the opportunity to go to Brazil. My second, or I guess like I started in September, and had the opportunity to go to Brazil in January, and so
Awesome.
so I signed up and did everything I had to do. I think if we were full-time percussion students, the university or the program would pay for the flight, and we had to pay for everything
Mhm.
else. And so we did a week in Rio and a week in Salvador Bahia. And
Mm.
yeah, so the first week we were kind of led by Guilherme Gonçalves, and he kind of like let us taught classes, and then we played with his group. And then in the second week we did different things. We studied with Zé Ricardo and Mario Pam, and
Oh,
in
cool.
in Bahia we had our like you all know Nelly. Is it Nelly Zamora?
Hmm.
Yeah, she was the
Oh,
person
that's
who
right.
yeah, she was the person who was our like guide in Bahia. And for people that don't know
Hmm.
Nelly, she's like you know, she's from the States, from California, like of Mexican descent. But but she picked up on Portuguese really well, and she was our guide in Salvador. And so those are my first experience, my first like in-depth experience with Brazilian culture and music was going to Brazil.
Did things click right then when you went, or did it?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It was just like I mean the music was amazing, and but like just being there and being in the culture and seeing I think I really saw like myself, or like I saw like things that I really liked things that were important to me were important there. I
Mm-hmm.
think in the US, it's really a lot of like extracurricular activities are like really sports and competition based, you know? Not to say that there's not competition in music, but I think like I just remember being in Rio and playing in this with that teacher Guilherme Gonçalves, and we like with his group it was a bloco called Escangalia. I remember being there, and this was in January, so it's like a lot of pre-carnival energy,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember just like we played for like 3 hours, and it felt like 5 minutes. Like it was just wild. And I remember we were in a baseball field, and I just remember like people came out, people like just people in the community, people at the park at this baseball field. They just came out and were really, really energized, and we're dancing, and we're just so happy
Mm-hmm.
that we were playing music. And I was like, man, this would not happen in the U.S. Like this is just, it's just, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
not really valued. And I mean, I think people in Brazil really have trouble with their music and time and labor being valued and stuff. But I mean, I think culturally, they're just culturally so rich, and people, yeah, you go to these different salons in Rio, and you see like teenagers and like 70-year-olds, and they all know all the words to the music,
Mm-hmm.
and they all know all like these little accents and hits and breaks and stuff, and it's just magical. Like it's just amazing. So it made a really, really big impact on me, and I ended up going the next year with the same program.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right on.
Hooked, yeah.
You were the veteran.
Something like that.
After you got back from those trips, then did you seek it out, or were you like pretty swamped in your studies for
um
school?
yeah, I was pretty swamped. I did seek it out, just like in the same way that I would when I was like 13, 14, listening to like the Beastie Boys and Rage Against the Machine. I would just like go to record stores and would just like searching for all this like Brazilian music. And so from there I got into like Gilberto Gil and Caetano Veloso and a bunch of other people. And yeah, I had this really great compilation. It's called What's Happening in Pernambuco. And it's just like a lot of like more, it was at the time, it was probably like 2007 or 8, or
Mm-hmm.
a lot of like contemporary like bands playing like kind of not mangi beat, but kind of like forró mixed with this and that, and like kind of some like rap music, some like reggae music. Just like I just kind of got into a bunch of different what I could, different Brazilian stuff. And I think yeah, the year or so after, there was a thing at Grand Performances in LA. It's like a really cool summer series, like free concerts, and they had Ciro Baptista. Do y'all know
Mm-hmm.
him?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ciro Baptista came with his group Beat the Donkey, and that
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was back in Brazil. And
Mm-hmm.
um, there was some Brazilian stuff there. I know there's Brazilian stuff in LA. I wasn't super connected to it, but so that would have been I went in January 2008, 2009, and then I came back and was studying, and then I went to Brazil camp for the first time in 2010. So
How
yeah.
did you connect with that? Did you just somebody recommend it to you, or?
Yeah, there were flyers when I was at I was still at Cal State Long Beach, and so
Mm-hmm.
there were like flyers and stuff for Brazil
Mm-hmm.
camp, and then I heard it was cool, and I was
Nice.
just I was just so hooked on Brazilian music.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot how I got connected, but do you know that guy Ali Lexa?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I drove with him, or like I drove to his house and left my car at his house, and then he lived in like Culver City or something, and then so we kind of drove all the way up to the Bay, and um, yeah, that was really great, and kind of stayed the night in San Francisco and hung out with some friends there, and then the next day went up to camp, and just yeah, I fell in love with it.
The magic began.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember you from, I think it was my second year in 2015.
Uh-huh.
in Mark Lampson's intermediate bateria class. I think you and I were both
Huh.
playing Hipiki. Do you remember that?
Ah, yeah, yeah,
We were
yeah, yeah.
like totally green and like trying to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Those are fun classes.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that class was great. He
Hmm.
explained so many things that had either just assumed you would know or it was like, yeah, it was a great in between beginner and advanced to kind of lay some things out.
Yeah. I like that level because
Hmm.
it's not like, yeah, it's nice. Like you don't you're not trying to completely put everything together. Like people can already play generally.
Right.
Um,
They know the
but
basics, like, yeah.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I think it's an interesting class. It'd be good to see it again.
And there was no performance at the end, which I thought was awesome because then the
Yeah.
Right.
teachers weren't like teaching to the performance. It wasn't, I loved
Hmm.
that. So it was all learning. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a cool class.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you completed your university studies, and then how did you end up in the Bay Area?
I moved up here to go to grad school, to go to
Mm.
Mills College in Oakland. Um, so that would have been 2011 when I moved up here in August of 2011, and yeah, I started working at Trader Joe's in like 2007, and I was able to just like transfer to a Bay Area store, and so I
Mhm.
moved up here like a month before I started grad school and was just working terrible hours, like 4 to midnight,
Ugh.
and just like stay up later and later every single night, and um, it was rough. So yeah, I kind of worked like full time-ish for like a month, and then started grad school at Mills. And yeah, I think about it now, and it's like I knew like of Georgie. I knew about like Samba Heel because like friends had talked about this group in the Bay Area, this really cool samba group, and I wish I would have started like playing with them like then. I should have just done it, but I was pretty busy with grad school
Mhm.
and working too. So yeah, it's just I don't know. That would have been cool, but it was tough.
Well, I mean, like just commute time.
Right.
You got to
Yeah,
study, you got to be at class,
You got to work.
study
you gotta
after class,
work.
you got to go to work, and then you need like time to like take a shower and eat and fall asleep.
Yeah.
Like I get it.
Exactly.
And then there's traffic in the Bay Area is like no joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna let you off the hook there. You don't have, don't feel bad.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
It's a lot.
Definitely,
It's a lot to be involved in these things.
it is. It is. But yeah, and it's funny because I got, Georgie's. So like when I went to Brazil in 2008 and 2009, and we did like this thing samba stuff in Rio, and samba hegi in Salvador, and candomblé stuff in Salvador with Zay, and I was like really interested in candomblé, and um, I'd wanted to find out more about it, but there was like really nothing, or I couldn't find anything. And then moving to the Bay, and then Georgie's there, and like he goes by Georgie Alabe, but like Alabe is not his real last name, but it's like a candomblé name, and like I didn't even know that. And had I known that, I probably would have sought him out a lot sooner. But I guess I didn't learn all that or learn that until like 2014 when I went back to camp. I didn't go after 2010. I kind of moved to the Bay and was grad school stuff, and then I finished, and then went back in 2014. So it was a little while before I kind of got back into playing Brazilian music.
Mhm.
And
Did you?
Zay is Zay Ricardo from Ballet Folclórico da Bahia, right?
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah. Those are my first lessons, and then when I was there last year, I was able to do a couple lessons, and then he
Mhm.
like remembered me from my teacher Michael from many years. Like really, really cool to meet up with him again.
Mhm. Nice.
Cool. What
Yeah.
did you study when you were doing your grad work?
Graduate school, it was
Yeah.
the degree was a music performance degree with an
Ah,
emphasis in improvisation. So it was a kind of a mixture of like contemporary-ish music, contemporary percussion music. So my teacher William Wynant, he was like an expert in um, yeah, like new music, contemporary music. So like a lot of like Steve Reich and Philip
Hmm.
Glass type stuff,
Hmm.
like minimalism and then working with just other students, other composers. Like there's a really cool um, like experimental music scene here in the Bay Area that I was really interested in. And so and Mills College is kind of like a hub on the West Coast for that stuff.
For that,
So
yeah.
yeah, so like you kind of have CalArts, you have Mills, you have Oberlin, you have New England Conservatory of people that are like going to school for this stuff, and so like Mills has always been like a hub for that, and I was and then there was like the scene around that, so like experimental music scene around that. So wait, to answer your question, yeah, like playing more contemporary music, and then also playing with improvising and playing with people at the school, and then playing composers' music from the school. So I got pretty busy right away, and then I started like playing in like bands and groups with friends, friends projects and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Were
That
you
contemporary
accompanying dance
stuff is not.
classes?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Were you accompanying dance classes as well?
My second year, yeah, it's a
Mm.
2 year program, and I started accompanying in yeah 2012, and that ended up like once I graduated, that ended up kind of being my main job for a few years, which was really cool. And having being in you know yeah been in music school for that long and we're learning all these pieces, all this repertoire and stuff to kind of to just have time like playing alone and not have anybody tell you what to play, but just be like, we need something in this meter this fast, we need like a duple or triple feel, or sometimes things would be in odd meters and stuff, or things would be in no meter, things would be open, like just like having to like play and like build a little percussion set. Like nobody told me what to do. I just,
Hmm.
but they just, yeah, you know, if people keep asking you, then and they like what you're doing. And so it was nice to have that time to kind of um, develop myself that way and
Yeah,
like
cool.
take off from like formal training and do a different thing.
Sure. Cool.
Yeah.
That modern stuff, I did a little bit of that in college, and
Mhm.
it took me a long time to learn that stuff. Like it was every piece was like a lot of work. Like
Yeah.
it's intense. It's a lot. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, dancers rehearse, like their rehearsal schedules are just so crazy
Hmm.
sometimes. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of time, a lot of work.
Yeah. So tell us about getting involved with Georgie and that path.
Hmm. So yeah, my partner and I, we went to camp in 2014. Like I told her about it, and I was like, "This place is amazing. It's a beautiful place. Like, you know, great music, great teachers, great food, great people, amazing culture, all that." And so we went, and we, um, you know, the Georgie had his candomblé class, and so we took that class and just loved it. You know, I thought it was like, yeah, just an amazing class, and it was nice to kind of dip my toes back into that music finally. You know, like I remember studying with Zay and doing like learning like the go parts, and then the humping and the lay, the support parts. And I could more or less play those, but like playing the lead drum, playing the hoom was like he would explain stuff and I just had no idea. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. Like it was really crazy. So having that chance to do this with Georgie and then I was so psyched. And then I learned that he lived like extremely close to me, like 2 minutes in a car, like 5 minutes on a bike, like really close. So I was just like, um, actually had, and it was November 4th, so that would have been just over 9 years ago when I did my first private lesson with him. And so I just
Wow.
started doing lessons and yeah, I just always have always loved his playing.
You remember
Um,
the exact date you took your first lesson with him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's pretty pretty weird, but yeah, it's
It's
I had
not
it.
weird.
It's
It's
just
cool.
on. Yeah, it's on. It was on like I had the recording on a computer. I have a weird thing with like
Uh,
with numbers sometimes that I can remember numbers well. But yeah, I have a weird thing with zip codes from my UPS job. Uh, yeah, like I don't.
Sacramento, Sacramento zip code.
It's like 958 something something. So I know like the general thing. There are some parts, especially because I worked in SoCal at UPS. Um, there were some like I kind of like if you're closer to the destination, you know, it's like pretty exact where the things have to go. But somewhere more general, uh, yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a weird party trick. Some people get a little freaked out. They don't know where I'm coming from with this, but
you could be a street
yeah.
performer. I'm gonna take a detour here. You could be a street performer. I was in Boulder, Colorado once, and there was this guy who was like, "Give me your address," and then he would tell them their zip code.
Oh,
And people
oh,
were like,
okay.
It's a tourist place," and so people were there from all over the
Yeah,
country. You know, had to be inside the United States, and they would say their address, and he would say the zip code.
that's insane. I've heard of
Yeah.
a guy, I think he was in I think in Colorado too, who if he heard you talk, he could tell you your zip code.
Oh, weird.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Like heard your
What's up,
accent.
Colorado?
Yeah,
Colorado's got the
Colorado's
zip codes locked
is, yeah.
down.
Silly.
So then you started doing private lessons with Georgie. That's hilarious. He lived right down the street from you, or like really close.
Yeah, yeah, he lived close by. So I started going over, and then he was just like, he knew I could play, and he was just like, I remember him just being like, I appreciate you coming here, and I could use people like you. Like we could, it'd be great to have you around for performances and recordings and stuff, and it'll be great to have you around. And I'm like, heck yes, like bring it on. So yeah, I just started studying with him, and um, yeah, did that, and then I think like I don't remember when I started playing for the like ceremonies here, but it was maybe like 2015, definitely in 2016. I was already playing for some of the ceremonies, but it might have been somewhere around 2015, um, where he asked me to play for those, and it'd be like two of them a year, in December for Oshum and in July more or less for Shango. So I'm kind of doing that since then. And then for dance classes every Sunday, playing for playing for dance classes. And when I first started playing for those, Mark Machina was around, and so he would be the one playing home. He would be the one playing the lead drum. And then yeah, somewhere around then, Mark moved to Portland, right? And
Hmm.
then and then Georgie was like, "It's your turn. You play now." And I was just dying. It was just so hard. Like it was just so crazy and intense. And but it took that for me to be just kind of thrown in there
Hmm.
to have to learn this stuff.
And these were for Georgie's dance classes. He was teaching the dance portion, and you were playing, right?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Yeah, for those classes, it's kind of funny because Georgie's like he he'll be like he'll he'll show the dance and then he'll like play and then he'll have to like kind of correct people and then he'll go out there and he'll be dancing and he'll be like singing the lead part and then when the lead part's done he'll be like singing the rhythm so he's like dancing and he's like he's like singing these like things and then it's like but that's what you got to play like you got to
Yeah.
it's a really great yeah, I worked with like dancers for a while, and just learning what dancers want, like what they sing, what they sing.
Hmm.
Like, that's like really important, crucial stuff. And Georgie's like an amazing percussionist, so you're getting like everything. You're
Hmm.
getting all that in those classes. So
Now, Robert, have you done any of these dance classes before?
I haven't done the group classes, but I've done some private lessons with Georgie.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've done some private lessons with Georgie. Maybe just like two or three, where we just did dance stuff. and I've been wanting to do more. I wanted to do more when I was in Brazil, but most people were they wanted me to be able to play first, which I
Hmm.
which I could, but then like, they wanted me to learn like the way they taught first. So
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so I've done some, but I would really like to do a lot more. I think that that would.
Yeah. It makes such a difference to learn both parts.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. It's a lot.
Now, were you also playing samba with Georgie at this time?
A little bit, yeah.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of the first year. I've only done like two or three SF carnivals, and that's me being here for like 12 years or something like that. I've only done like two or three, um, playing either Kaisha or Surdu. And yeah, I've done some of them. I've done some of them. It's tricky though. It's like I was saying before, like I would kind of wish I would have just started earlier playing samba, but again with like work stuff, it's just been hard to like
Sure.
keep doing it. And I do think that for me it's a little complicated because music, like playing and teaching music is like the way that I make a living right now and have been for a while. And yeah, it's like it's a different thing, like it's
Yeah.
Hmm.
um yeah, it's playing with a group. Yeah, it's just like adding another thing on. Not that it's bad. Like I love it. I think it's great. But yeah, just kind of finding time for everything is it's a little difficult. But yeah, I've
That
done a couple of those
that
parades and
parade
some.
is like no joke, too.
Oh my God, it's so long.
It's like 5 miles.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
those
really, really
blocks.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it goes from like 24th, like whatever, Bryant or Harrison, and then 24th, and then up Mission, and then you go up to like 16th. But those blocks are big. Those are big city blocks. And I remember talking to our friend of the podcast, Jimmy Biala, about it, and yeah, he's helped Georgie, and he's like, I didn't realize like what he goes through too is he has to walk backwards for like five
Right.
miles.
Yeah,
He's
that's
like,
nuts.
and he, that's that's insane. That's just
Yeah.
really nuts. Yeah.
And like there's those, there's always like potholes and there's manhole covers and there's those little bumps that they put in the road. You're walking backwards and you're like running into
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. It's intense. It's intense.
yeah.
It would be best to play tambourine during that parade.
Right. Exactly. I
Uh,
agree. Yeah.
Or just be the water person, the water boy.
I
Mhm.
was the first aid person one year.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
That works.
You got a blister? Here's a Band-Aid.
Here's a Band-Aid. Yeah. Just some water. So let's talk Fulbright, Robert.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, is it okay if I backtrack and then go into that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, I did want to say too that yeah, things got a little like tough, like financially for me, and I just wanted to, yeah, I wanted like some, I guess like help and stuff. And so around like I started studying with Georgie for a few years and a couple of years, and then I started applying for things. And before the Fulbright, I applied for this thing called the Alliance for California Traditional Arts. That's the
Mhm.
organization, the ACTA, the apprenticeship program. And so I applied for the first time in 2016 for 2017.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't get it. And then so, but I was able to like call them. There's like such a small like nonprofit. I was able to call them and be like, hey, would you be able to tell me like what happened with that application? Like, is there any like feedback at all? And then yeah, the person was able to tell me like basically like they knew who Georgie was. They knew, yeah, they knew who he was. They knew of his background, his prominence and all that, but they didn't know enough about me and who I was. And I think the thing I submitted was
Mm.
like it was just really it was like a audio recording, and I had to be like, at 35 seconds, that's me playing, it was like just terrible, like um and so that was a part of it, is them that just not knowing who was me, maybe even not knowing if I was playing on the recording or not, or it was just really unclear. But um, so yeah, 2017, I applied for Fulbright first time, and didn't get that. But then I also applied for the ACTA apprenticeship program and got that and did that in
Cool.
2018.
And
Hmm.
this is like a grant program for people who are studying folkloric arts kind of a thing. Is that
Yeah, yeah,
that's really cool.
it's really cool. So so if you're doing any sort of, um, quote unquote, like traditional art in California, highly recommend scoping it out. It's called the ACTA Apprenticeship Grant.
How cool.
And so that basically paid Georgie to teach me for 6 months, and at the end we did a public presentation. And then I used that footage to apply for Fulbright. Uh,
Nice.
Smart.
so I had a friend who, yeah, hired for to film that, and then my partner Shanna, she helped me out just like a ton. She did all this filming of the dance classes and stuff that I did with Georgie, and so we kind of used all that to help with the Fulbright. And so the first time I tried to do Fulbright was when I applied in. You have to apply so far in advance.
Yeah.
I think it was 2017, but I applied basically to go in 2019, and then it didn't work out.
How
Um,
did you get the idea to even apply to the Fulbright? Because you need someone at a university, and then I think someone at a university there, like wherever you're wanting to go too, correct?
mhm.
So how did you work out those details?
So I have my friend Katie Harrell, who I went to graduate school with. She did a Fulbright maybe like a year or so after we finished grad school, and she went to Bali to study gamelan, like gamelan singing, I think, or
Hmm.
gamelan vocal music. Yeah, she went there, and I'd heard about it, and then I was just like, maybe I'll try that. And so yeah, because we went to Mills College together, and so I wrote her about it, and she said, yeah, like she sent me her grant proposal and was like, yeah, there's a committee, so like email this person. So I just kind of got the ball rolling that way.
Hmm.
And yeah, so the at the school there's like a Fulbright committee, and
Is this
you
the
basically,
school that you went to grad school at, Mills College?
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. So you can apply as a candidate at large. Like you don't need a university here in the US
Oh, I
to
thought you
like,
did.
you can apply as a candidate at large, or I forgot the terminology for the um basically you get like, yeah, school to work with you and support you. And it's kind of like a pre-screening process. And so it is a little more, it's not foolproof, but it's like you have a better chance
Hmm.
at
Mm.
getting it. And so yeah, I started emailing, just emailing people at Mills about this, and they were like, yeah, um, you got like, there's like deadlines. There's like I want to say Fulbright, the actual date it was due was like the middle of October, and then there was a date in September, like early September, where you have to submit all of your materials via the Fulbright site, but it just goes straight to your school, to your like affiliate school. And then the committee, they review it, and then they like unlock your application again. But even before that, there's like a whole interview thing too, where like you do meet. Like I was basically corresponding with two people. This professor in the political science department, and she was like on the Fulbright committee for the school. And then there was someone in my department, and like a musicologist um, who was like reading our stuff too. And so it's really great to have the perspective of someone inside and outside your field
Yeah.
reading your stuff, because it's like, it's just going to make sense to people outside of
Right.
my
Right.
field, like
Hmm.
hopefully.
Yeah.
And then so what I've and then that so that first time I applied, I didn't make it past the first round. Like I
Okay,
got
wait.
another.
So how did you make the connection in Brazil?
What do you mean?
with
Oh,
that
just like stalking
school?
people.
Okay.
Yeah, just like, yeah, just,
You
um,
reached out to them. They didn't, your
yeah,
school
just
people didn't
using,
already have somebody. I
no,
see. Cool.
yeah, yeah, just, I think I was just like looking up like Candomblé research, who's done their PhD on Candomblé stuff, and
Reading papers and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I found this guy who did he maybe I think he did yeah. So Fulbright, there's like many different programs. There's like what I did is the Fulbright student program, and then there's and it's basically Fulbright student program. You have to have a bachelor's degree, or you have to have completed a bachelor's degree by the time you start the Fulbright program, but you can't have a PhD.
Hmm.
And then there's the Fulbright Scholar Program. And the Fulbright Scholar Program is if you already have a PhD and you end up going to a place and you do research, but you also teach a little bit, I think. And then there's Fulbright Hays for like people that are doing a PhD. So there's like a bunch of different
Huh.
programs. I did Fulbright Student. And so I found someone who did the Scholar Program, and he was a professor in the US. And I wrote him and about his connections, and he said, talk to this person, Miriam Rabello, who ended up being my uh, advisor in Brazil. She kind
Hmm.
of wrote me a letter of, what do you call it? Yeah, she had to write a letter saying that they would take me in and all this
Hmm.
stuff. They would let me do classes and hang out at the university.
Cool.
And so she did that for me the both years three times I applied. Oh my God. Yeah,
Persistence.
something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell what was so did you have to enter with like a defined project that you were gonna study, or were you there to generally take a class? Or I mean, what was how, how'd that go?
Focus.
Yeah, what was the focus?
Yeah, there has to be so the writing you have to do, there's like a personal statement talking about your who you are and what you've done and your background, all that. And then there's the statement of grant purpose. And so that in the statement of grant purpose, like I did have to write about what I was gonna do and where I was gonna be staying and why, why was it important for me to study Candomblé in Salvador, Bahia, and like the importance of that and who I wanted to study with. Um, and you have to kind of present like why this potential grant is feasible for you. And,
I
and
guess
so yeah,
my the
mhm.
question that comes to mind, I'm gonna interrupt you. Uh, so a lot of like contemplé is taught outside the university system. So did you have to combine like taking classes from someone in the community and then studying contemplé at the university, or how can you explain that?
Yeah. So my affiliation was not in the so my affiliation in Brazil was at the Federal University of Bahia, also known as UFBA. Um, and
Awesome.
yeah, UFBA. It's like pretty prestigious in Brazil. Like
Hmm.
a lot of like it's kind of opposite where like I think in the US like private schools are maybe a little more prestigious, but
Yeah.
in Brazil it's the opposite because it's like really hard to get into the state school or the federal
Right.
schools, and it's a better deal overall. But anyways, my um, right, so my affiliation was with the social sciences department. It was not with any music
Hmm.
department. Um, I didn't really know of any music departments teaching candomblé stuff. Now that I've been there, I think I could have maybe gotten affiliation through my teacher Yuri Passos, because he teaches there. Like maybe,
Hmm.
um, but this person was like the first person to yeah that I was just in contact with them earlier and they accepted me. So basically, I just had to, yeah, my affiliation was with the social sciences department, and it's with this group studying Afro-Brazilian religions, and it's basically all candomblecistas. And they would meet on Fridays, and because it's like Friday So they have Oshala, so like everybody wears white to like all these classes. Like it feels like you're going to like a candomblé ceremony even.
Hmm.
So yeah, so my affiliation was with the university, and that was kind of like my obligation was to do those classes, was to go to those seminars, and people would talk about their work, what they were doing. And then in my proposal was like, I want to study with like this person and this person, in Salvador, and then I want to go to Rio and study with these people. So it was very much like inside and outside the university,
Hmm.
my proposal. It wasn't
That was
just,
part of it too. I see.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Cool.
um,
How
yeah,
was your
and
Portuguese at the time? You're taking classes at a university in Portuguese. How'd that?
oh, yeah, that was hard. I mean, I'd started studying Portuguese in like 2016, just doing like Duolingo stuff, and then 2017 I started doing private lessons. So I've been kind of doing stuff since then.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it's tough. It was, yeah, even like many years later, it was like, yeah, it was still tough to like be in a class, but it was just like a more like a group discussion than anything.
Uh,
And it was, you know, I understood most of it. There'd be sometimes people would tell jokes and like everyone would be laughing, and I'm
Whew.
like, oh,
What does
yeah,
that mean?
it's like, yeah,
yeah,
good
more,
one.
yeah.
I have no
I
idea
remember
what that's like.
yeah,
Just kidding.
there's, yeah, right. There was a person when I was there in 2022. There was like someone from Europe that joined the group too, and their Portuguese was like really good. I was like, dang, like they're like killing it. And then someone told the joke, and then that other person, they also weren't laughing, and then I was like, oh, okay, we're
It's not that
that part, but
good.
yeah,
So to backtrack a little, you received the Fulbright in 2019 for 2020, correct?
yeah, yeah. So I applied the second time, and I had a way better like portfolio the second time.
Hmm.
I applied to go in 2020, and they told me like in April of 2019, and so I was just like freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, freaking out. Yeah, it was like a total dream to be able to do that. And then so I received that, and yeah, I just was just getting ready to go. Like my partner and I, we decided to go, and we decided to we had this, we lived in this apartment for like a while, we were there for like 7 years or something, and
Hmm.
with the way Bay Area rents are, it was like
Oh
a
man.
good deal. Like, it was a good deal, but we just we're living like across the street from like a freeway. We were like on the second story, like you could like just, yeah, toss a baseball onto the freeway. Like it was like really close. Like the apartment would shake when
Mm.
trucks would come by, and it was just like, yeah, just a lot going on, and we didn't want to be there forever, so it was like, this is our chance to leave and do something different, and we don't know what's going to happen next, and so we kind of got ready to move out, put things in storage, um, had some friends take care of our car for us for that time, and then we went to Brazil. There was an orientation that year in Sao Paulo, and so the whole cohort met in Sao Paulo. We were in Sao Paulo for 5 days, and there was like a whole Fulbright orientation. And at that was February 2020. So COVID was already a thing. COVID was like I remember talking to my dad and being at the airport, and he's like, is there anything, do you think feel safe with this like COVID thing going on? And I was like, I think we're okay. Like, we're should be all right. Um, but yeah, so like we had orientation in Sao Paulo for 5 days, and then yeah, 5 days after that, I went to Salvador. But yeah, it was interesting. Like I got to meet all the other people who had got grants, and
Mm.
most of them
Was
were.
it was it a big contingent?
It was about 30,
Hmm.
35 people.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, from the
Hmm.
U.S. going to Brazil.
Hmm.
And at that year, I think there was maybe like five of us in Salvador.
Oh, actually,
Um,
that's more than I would think.
yeah,
Oh,
and
cool.
they do say too, like Fulbright does say that um, like they give more priority. They give priority to people who are applying outside of Salvador, Rio, and Sao Paulo because like
Mm.
they're just more popular places and
Yeah,
more people fly every year. So I got to meet all those people, and we were just all like, everyone's like was just, yeah, on a high. Just we got to Brazil, and
sure.
everyone's trying to get a cell phone plan, trying to figure out all that, and everyone's just like, yeah, just struggling with Portuguese, and but it was cool, and it was like in a super nice hotel in Sao Paulo. So you go to the top floor, and there's like a pool and stuff, and it's just like endless city,
Hmm.
Right.
endless mid-rise buildings and high-rise buildings, and yeah. But it was a good introduction to Sao Paulo. I hadn't been there up to that point. Um, yeah.
And then when did COVID come and change things?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that year, um, I had a great apartment, and it was like off of Airbnb, so it was like totally affordable. And I started studying, and thank you to Marcio Peter really helped me out with getting set up studying there. So I started studying with a few different people. My good friend Bida Santos, Yuri Passos, started
Hmm.
studying with Yuri from Gantois, and and then like the COVID stuff started building up, and I think it was 6 weeks in, we got there was a big Fulbright group chat on WhatsApp, and people were getting a little getting a little worried about what was going to happen. No one knew anything. All we knew was that like Tom Hanks had COVID, and yeah, and then they
I
shut
think
down
that's
the
when everybody like realized in the United
yeah.
You,
States they were like, "Oh no."
when I knew it was going to be crazy is when the NBA stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah,
That
it
was
was
like the
like,
Yeah.
next day, wasn't it? It was like Tom Hanks, the
Yeah, it was
NBA or
all boom,
something. I
boom,
thought we were
boom.
really
Yeah.
close together. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it was like NBA, and then Forrest Gump got COVID. Like, it's wild. But yeah, so that speaking of remembering dates, that was the 13th of March. So 13th of March, we got an email
That was
saying,
that was a Friday the 13th, by the
was
way.
it?
It
There's,
was
oh
because that
my
was my
goodness.
last day of work in the office.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay, it's good to know. We're helping each other out
Yeah.
here. Friday the
Good numbers.
13th. Yeah. Friday the 13th, we got a letter saying from Fulbright saying that they recommend that we go back to the US, that we didn't have to because COVID was starting to become a thing. I'm not sure if it was officially declared a pandemic yet, but they recommend that we go back to the US. But if we wanted to stay, we could sign a waiver, and basically saying like we couldn't sue them or anything if we got sick or whatever,
Mm.
got stranded in the country. Um, so I was like, heck no, man! I give up my job, my apartment,
Yeah.
my other job, like all this stuff, like just to be
Hmm.
here. This is like once in a lifetime opportunity. So I, yeah, my partner and I were just like, nah, like let's just this will be okay. And then yeah, things started to change. It was tough. Like I was doing classes with Mario Palm from Iliaye,
Hmm.
and then like there was like a week or so, into that, it was like, we're not sure if we should be going to classes right now. And then yeah, things just got a little weird.
And
I
were
got
people wearing masks and things like that there?
um I don't remember, but people in Brazil are really good about that stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly because I feel like that was even when masks were like people were like, I don't know if it does anything. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
they
yeah,
were making everybody confused about that for a while.
yeah. I know like we made masks. We made our own out of like these
Hmm.
weird like napkin stuff. But yeah, I don't I don't remember. I don't quite think so quite yet. But yeah, so then the 20th of March, which I has to be another Friday, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. They sent out another letter and they said, we're canceling the program. You must vacate
Mm.
Brazil immediately.
Wow.
Um, and so that was in March, and they're like, we're gonna give you just part of your next stipend. Um, we're not gonna pay you the whole thing, and you have to leave Brazil immediately,
Oh man.
and the thing's over. And so just like what? Like I don't even have a place to live, and I didn't even have a
Right.
place to live
Mhm.
in the
Where do
US,
I
and
go
like
back to? Yeah.
Right.
yeah. So
Wow.
um yeah, my partner and I, we had to like talk a lot just about like what we were gonna do, and it just yeah, we wanted to stay. I mean, like it was probably gonna be okay, but then like things started to like slowly change in the neighborhood. Like there was this like corner like a little store and like Boteco kind of thing, and even like they took all their tables away, and it was like you couldn't like sit there anymore. Um, and then yeah, my partner and I, we like really stood out even more than we already did. It just like
Mhm.
it was like it just kind of I don't know it just felt like we didn't belong there, especially at that time. And I think the possibilities of us having trouble catching a flight back to the U.S. if anything were to happen with anybody in our families, we're just like, we couldn't really study. Like, what the hell is I going to be doing there? Like,
Right.
trying to be like, hey, can I get a lesson? Like, to folks or whatever. There's nothing going on. But yeah. So it was a really hard decision. Right before that was Carnival too, so we got to be there for that, and
Mhm.
that was freaking amazing. See Carnival in Bahia, and yeah, we just eventually decided to come back, and then, but it was not easy. It was like flights are being canceled, and different people didn't know that flights were canceled, and I just knew we needed to get to like Sao Paulo to get out of Brazil, and then like that was tricky from Salvador,
Oh
so I was
man.
having to talk to travel agents. Um, and I'd be like, yeah, like ended up getting help. I ended up having to ask Fulbright to help me find a flight back because we could not book a thing. Like they kept getting canceled, and
Wow.
I was just like online, like all the time trying to like find flights, and they, like I knew the flights better than some of the travel agents did because I'd be like, oh, I need. They're like, there's this flight with Azul. I'd be like, no, it's canceled. Look on these guys' website, and ended up being like we had to stay there for an extra like 3 days because of cancellations, and then eventually came back, and then Guarulhos, the airport in Sao Paulo, was just nuts. It was wild. It was wild at that time trying to travel internationally.
Like in
Yeah,
what
my
way?
husband, I was just going to add that my husband was in
Mhm.
Ukraine on tour, actually in Europe. I think they were in Czech Republic by then. But yeah, it was nuts trying to get him back, and then he was
Yeah.
taking pictures of the airport, and it was just, he was the only one with a mask, basically. And it was
Um,
nuts. So
mhm.
yeah, totally understand that.
Yeah.
Just a ton of other people trying to get out. Is that what
Yeah.
was
And I
going
think,
on?
too, Donald Trump had like issued some really confusing statement about being, not being able to get back in and this and that,
Oh,
so
right.
yeah, so it was during that time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's complicated, really.
Hmm.
So when you got back, where did
Hmm.
you stay? Like you didn't have an apartment or anything.
Yeah, we ended up staying um down near
You're like,
I
hey
don't know.
Georgie, I'm coming over.
What's that? Georgie?
Yeah, you were like, hey Georgie, I'm coming over to sleep on your floor.
Yeah, we should have. I mean, no, but yeah, I mean, yeah, should have done that. But yeah, it's tricky. Like, you don't want to jeopardize
Yeah,
any
of
folks who are
course.
a little older who might
Oh, of
have had some
course.
past health problems. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
totally. I was just kidding
yeah,
about that, but
no, I know,
yeah.
I know. Yeah, um, but yeah, we ended up staying. down near 29 Palms, so like kind of,
Oh, really?
yeah, kind of close to Joshua Tree-ish. We have
Mm.
a friend that moved out there many years ago now, and she had some friends who had a house that they had been Airbnb-ing, and it was like no one was going out there, so we ended up renting a house for about 5 weeks. Um, they rented the house for about 5 weeks, and it was just crazy. Like, oh yeah, just like taking in all this news about COVID, and um, all the other Fulbright people were like, everyone was just like struggling, like nobody knew what
Sure.
to do. Um,
You had like set up your life to be gone for a
Yeah.
year. Everybody
yeah,
had quit their job, like health
yeah,
insurance. I mean,
yeah,
and all the things. Yeah.
yeah, and I do think, maybe I'm wrong, but I do think that it was a little tougher for me being a little bit older. I think a lot of the people who do the Fulbright student program, like, they tend to fall between like 25 and 30 years
Mm.
old. But yeah, I was like older than that. I think what might have been like 37 or something at the time. And yeah, it was just like, I was like, it's different for me, I think, because like I didn't just get out of school. Yeah, I don't really have anywhere to go. So, and
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, we ended up staying there for 5 weeks, but everyone was like talking, and we were trying to like put together like a formal letter as a group to Fulbright, basically saying that like you can't just do this to us. Like we need to either get paid for the full thing, or we need to be able to have the opportunity to go back, because this was like extremely hard. And at the same time, this was in March of 2020. That like the beginning of the year, the first quarter of the year, that's when they tell people that they got the Fulbright. So me
Mm.
being chronically online, I would like go on Twitter, and I would like search like Fulbright, and I would see people being like, happy to announce that I got an award to go to Guatemala or whatever. Like at that same time that we all got rejected, they were telling other
Oh,
people
Wow.
yes, that they got the award. So that was just like really hard. Um, they ended up like giving everybody like like some money, like wasn't even like a month's rent, like maybe a month's rent.
Mm.
Like they kind of, they're like, we're sorry that this happened. Here's like some consolation money. We're just like I don't know what, I don't know. Thanks.
Yeah.
Um, and
Wow.
then yeah, we're in the desert. Uh, applied for unemployment immediately, and yeah, I was just trying to keep sane. I would take little jogs, enjoy the beautiful sunset, but it was super weird, super weird. And then we ended up, after 5 weeks, we ended up finding a place back in the Bay Area in Alameda, where we live now. It's a little island in the East Bay, right outside of Oakland. So I've been here since May of 2020, and it's a great spot. Yeah.
Now, for those folks that were awarded in 2020 for 2021, did they even get to go? Or did they even?
They ended up going in 2022.
Mm.
So their grant got postponed. They got to plan, Uh,
Hmm.
they got to go back in 2022. So in 2022, the cohort was like double the size because of 2021 folks got to
oh.
go.
I
Yeah.
thought you went back. I thought you applied again and went back. You did.
Yeah. So I was dumb enough to apply again. Uh, so what happened was they said um, they said that for the 2020 cohort, the one that I was in,
Uh-huh.
they said that the grant was canceled. Like, you're now alumni after like 6 weeks. Like,
That's nuts.
Good
yeah,
job.
yeah, you have,
Congratulations.
yeah, exactly, yeah, yeah. Like I won it. So I mean, like that is something, but it's like it's more about the experience. Like that doesn't
Yeah,
really,
no kidding.
for me and what I do, like that doesn't really it's not what it's about. You know, it
Right.
wasn't about,
Yeah. It's like you're gonna put that on your resume and be like,
yeah. Yeah, I mean it's good that it's on there, but yeah, it's just it's more about the experience and
right, but
Right.
right, exactly. It doesn't mean
yeah.
anything if it's 6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, they said so my that year the 2020 COVID cohort, we could apply again and it wouldn't count against us because you can for the Fulbright student program, you can get multiple awards
Hmm.
theoretically. If your proposal is really compelling or whatever, but they said that we could apply again, 2020 cohort can apply again and it wouldn't count against us because other if you know had I done the full 9 months and done like a normal Fulbright, that it would have counted against me, but
Right.
for applying again. But they said, because of what happened, because of the circumstances, it wouldn't count. It wouldn't count against me. So yeah, went. I applied again, and I went back in 2022, and yeah, it was just like did all the stuff again, like all of it again, all the application, letters of recommendation, portfolio, all that, and I watched like webinars and just try to just come back even stronger with it. And yeah, it worked out. Ended up getting it, and yeah, one of the things that I was like took from one of the webinars is like how feasible is your project? Like can you really do this? Can you really jump into like a new country, a new culture, a new society, and do what you want to do? And I was like, yes, I can because I've already started, and like I got all these WhatsApp numbers. I can already like, you know, I can do this like right away. And so yeah, I think that all helped. And so yeah, I was able to go in 2022, and I was there for 9, 10 months. Stayed there a little bit longer than the grant period, and just yeah, I was able to do the full thing. So that was yeah, I'm super super grateful for that.
And you had the same mentors and teachers that you had contacted
Mhm.
previously.
Yeah, yeah, same advisor, and yeah, the other teachers, people that I met through Marcio, and other peoples that I started to meet while I was there. I was able to just yeah to continue with them right away. So yeah, that really helped. That really helped a lot.
Tell
Um,
us about your studies.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious.
yeah, so 2022, I studied with where I start Bira Santos, um, Yuri Passos, Everaldo Brito, Zé Ricardo, and Neji Oshosi.
Mm-hmm.
Ney lives in you know of Ney?
Yeah, I follow him
Yeah,
online. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. Ney lives in Sao Paulo, and so I did during that time. I did come back to the U.S. for like a couple weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and on the way back to the U.S., I did like an intentional stopover in Sao Paulo, just to like hang out and study the city. There was another Fulbrighter I wanted to meet, and then I wanted to study with Ney, and so I did a lesson with Ney, and he's actually it's the family Encarnação, so it's like his maybe his last name, but he's of the Encarnação family, which is from Casa de Oxumaré in Salvador.
Mm-hmm.
They're of that terreiro, that temple, and they are related. That's the family of um, Georgie's first wife, and so Georgie's older kids, they're related. They're like cousins with Ney. So he's like
Mm.
kind of like an offshoot of like Georgie's family, and so I
Oh,
was able to get his phone number and contact him and
Cool.
lesson in his place. Did one lesson with him, and that was
mm.
that was a really great lesson.
We've talked to a
Um,
bunch of like our Brazilian guests have studied
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
with him.
yeah, yeah, he was awesome. That was a really great lesson. I wish I could have seen him play. One of my friends, actually, my friend Bita, Ney was in Salvador when I maybe like first got there. My friend Bita was like, he's like, Robert, Nejo Shosi's in town. You should try to set up a lesson. And then didn't work out. logistically and finding a place and stuff. But then, so I kept in contact and I did a lesson with him. Um, yeah, so kind of starting from the beginning of the Fulbright that trip though, my friend Bira, who's in Alabe, he he has like a him and his friend. They have a school called Diaspora, Diaspora like Art Center, I think, in the Pelourinho. And then
Mhm.
so Bira does like group classes and some private lessons there. And so I've known him for a little while, and or since 2020, we became good friends and kind of close. And so I did some classes with him throughout most of the time there. And um, he's a part of this temple. I think it's called Iliashe Oming Joba, and I forgot what neighborhood. It's still in Salvador, but it's like way out in Salvador. And him and his friend Neng, Nem, Neng, they run a school, that school GM Neng. And so I did do dance with Neng as well. I did dance with Neng in Salvador at that place Jasper. I would do drums and then dance right after. And they have
Is
this
that,
hmm?
sorry, is that named Ritu?
Neng Brito. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I took a class with him way, way back in the US
Yeah.
when he was
Yeah.
touring, when he was is it Dance Brazil or I can't remember who it was, but yeah. That was my first contact with anything remotely, from Salvador. So yeah, wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, he has a heavy history. He was like the first because Iliade is like the king and queen every year of the group, and he was like the first king, I think, when they ever did that. And he danced with Alvin Ailey, like he lived
Mm-hmm.
like, in New York for like a
Right.
while. And so, yeah, he's like a heavy history.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I studied with Beta and then dance with Ning, and then I did go to some candomblé ceremonies at their house, and Ning Brito, his mom is the Maiji Santu, and it's like way out in the sticks, but they have like a big space, like it's a beautiful place.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, hanging out um with Beta was really great because he was my teacher, but just also like a great friend. And so when I would go to those ceremonies, like I remember going and, try to be humble and just hang out and going to sit down, and he'd be like, Hobachi, what are you doing? Like, and you come up, you gotta come play. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, you know, cool. Like, so yeah, I went to just, I think, two ceremonies there, and he was like, you gotta play. So I would come up and play. And he introduced me to this guy, Everaldo Brito. Um, and Everaldo is he's in Ogan, or they say in Angola, Chikarangoma. I think I'm saying it right. But
Mm.
it's basically like an Alabe in the Angola Candomblé nation. And so I got to study with, like, I liked his playing a lot, Everaldo, and him and Bita are really close, and Bita kind of leans on Everaldo a lot. So, Everaldo, yeah, I did a bunch of lessons with him. He's definitely one of my primary teachers there. And his philosophy is basically that the like it's not about being flashy as a drummer. It's not about playing syncopated rhythms or polyrhythms. Like it has to, incontinently, like it has to make sense with the dance. It has to fit with the dance. And so there are like variations that I've learned from other people that I would play. He'd be like, play for Ogum, play like Vasi for Ogum, or play like Vasi for Shango, or this and that. And he would just stop and be like very particular, like, why are you playing that? Why are you playing that little rhythm right there? That does not make sense with the dance. And he's like, this makes sense in this part where it's this transition back to the normal Bazi, the normal part. But like, it was kind of like,
Awesome.
yeah, it was kind of like taking like composition lessons, like with someone, and be like, why is there a minor chord there? Why is there this passing
Yeah.
tone? It was kind of like really like that. It was almost like composition type lessons with him. And then he would
Oh,
get up and
awesome.
dance. Yeah, he would get up and dance for me. And so him and Bia, they would also, yeah, we did at least three other like ceremonies together. Like they would just call me and be like, can you come play these for these ceremonies with us?
Nice.
And Two of them were in this neighborhood, Mapeli in Salvador. It was another way out, like still in Salvador, but like barely like going along these dirt roads for like a long time, and with these two guys that are my teachers and friends, and I trusted, so I knew everything would be cool, but I was just like, man, I have no idea where we are, like. Um, but yeah, we went out to these ceremonies, played in, yeah, and people just treated us like so good and gave us just like food and drinks after, and we just hung out with the folks in the community for a long time. Did another one, like it was like a little small tejeru in Amaralina, so it's like in Salvador proper, but like the tejeru was like a 1 bedroom apartment, like it was crazy, just in there with the community, and yeah, it was beautiful. So yeah, and so yeah, Everaldo and Bita, and then my other primary teacher was Yuri Pasos, and he's kind of well known, and he's from the Gantua Tejeru, which is like the maybe the second or third oldest Tejeru
Mm-hmm.
in Salvador in Brazil, and so Yuri he has a master's degree in ethnomusicology, and his
Mm.
master's dissertation is really really good on candomblé and on like that tradition of learning and stuff. And um, so he does teach like I think they call it like contemporary popular music. So I think he does do like a mixture of candomblé and samba reggae and stuff. But the lessons with him, they were like right down the street from the Tejeru, and then in like his little like studio, which I think is like a spare room in his maybe his grandma's like apartment. And his lessons were intense. Like a lot most folks that I've studied with and played with, they the sticks are like pretty thin, pretty skinny sticks, and Yudi uses like these like marching band drumsticks, which he's like cut
Whoa.
off and like taped up, and he's just like he's really good about I'm really specific about technique. He's like, you have to have this like triangle, this triangle, not, and I would often be like here, kind of in with my right hand, especially. And he was like, you got to be here. And I think it was, more out, more natural. And I think it was like to use the weight of the right hand to have that and having your wrist go at a more, maybe like a more natural angle. And like I don't think I've met anybody else who was really that specific about
Mm.
how to hold the stick, how to get you know powerful sound if you want, and yeah, his lessons we would start. He would have these exercises where we would just play these little snippets of of candomblé hum, like one, like maybe a measure, maybe one beat, sometimes two measures long, but we would just repeat these, and we would just play them, kum ka kum ka kum ka kum ka kum ka kum ka. We would like play that start like maybe at that tempo or a little bit slower, and eventually speed up over the course of like 4 or 5 minutes. Just getting the sound, just getting those sounds and getting them pure and getting them strong. And I like almost always I would after like 3 minutes I would just like look at him, be like, please, like can we stop? Like this is so hard. Yeah. And lessons with him were always at like 9 in the morning,
Mhm.
but we would just be dripping sweat. It would just be so hot. It was just brutal. Um, but they were great, and it was like right there in that community. And sometimes people in the apartment next door would start like singing songs that they'd be like, "Kao Kabiasile," and they would start singing for Shango like in the middle of our
Aw.
lessons and stuff. And
Aw.
um,
Couldn't find that here.
No.
yeah,
They'd be calling for
yeah,
the cops here in the
right,
States.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And then after Yuri, I mean, I did a bunch of lessons with Yuri, and it was really really great. And
Mm.
um, down the street, I studied with Gabi Gedges.
Oh, really? I want
Yeah,
to. I want to get him on the show.
oh man, he's awesome. He was so cool, and that was a really cool thing. I mean, all these folks I studied with, they're basically all professional musicians outside of Candomblé, and Gabi especially. He has a heavy
Hmm.
Yeah, he's just like a heavy history, and he played with like he mentioned, because I said I'm from the U.S. and he said he was like, oh, I've been there a bunch playing with like Jimmy Cliff. He played with
Wow,
Jimmy
cool.
Cliff in the U.S. like a long time ago, and he was really nice and really helpful and showed me really really cool stuff. Like just like, and he was always busy. He's like, I have this session with like so and so I got to run to, and um, yeah, and I got to see him play. Like at that time, Lechi Eddie's Lechi from the Humpiles,
Hmm.
he'd just passed away like the fall before that, from like
Hmm.
COVID. And but they were still doing some like Humpiles shows. I mean, they still are.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I remember like we're talking about dates, and he's like, like, what could we do like a lesson this day, like in 2 weeks or something? And he's like, oh, I got this show with Lineker. And I was like, I'm
Oh.
going to that show. And he's like, I'm playing that show. And I was like, oh my God. And so yeah, got to see him a few times. Got to see him
Oh,
play a few
cool.
times and go hang at his place. And yeah, he was really, really great to work with as well.
Did you
Yeah,
do
he
audio recordings of these lessons?
Yeah, I took audio. Um, the only one I don't have audio is the one with Nay. He said
mm,
he doesn't let people record, but I'm like 90% sure that I have all like that we just did this rhythm Ava Munya, and I think I like remembered it all, and so I like went home immediately, was like I had my phone out and was like recording. I was like,
Yeah.
singing the rhythms out
Yeah.
on my phone. I was like, I think this is this, but
Yeah.
it would have been great because he did play at the end. He did play like a more free long form Ava Munya, and it was like insane. It was like so good, but yeah, all the other lessons I have recorded, so I have like a lot, and I just need to go over them still. Like some of it I do have transcribed.
Yeah.
There's so much that I don't.
Yeah.
So
I've there's a lot of gold in your audio recording. I mean, I found in when you do a
mhm.
lesson with somebody and then go back and listen to it. Some stuff I thought was one way. I'm like, oh wait, that's wow, how did I get that wrong? Or like you don't even remember, like in the moment, you learn like 10 things and then you maybe remember, I would maybe remember two, it's like
Yeah,
audio record. I
yeah,
was just curious if you have that as a resource.
hmm
Because you sounds like
yeah.
you took a ton of lessons.
I took a lot of lessons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
I think. What am I thinking? Memorial Isaiah Ricardo. I did some because there was a guy. There was a guy, Kenneth Metzger, who I just met, and like someone was with another Fulbrighter, and they were like, "Who are you?" Like we were just at this restaurant, and they had music, and one of my friends was like, "Who are you?" Because he seemed like he wasn't from there, and then he turns out he was an American dude, percussionist, also studying music, and he lives in Gainesville, Florida, and he started what's Brian Potts group,
Oh,
Bloco.
Miami Bloco.
Yeah, he's like, I started.
Miami Bloco.
I was like, oh, do you know Brian? And he's like, I started Miami Bloco with Brian like years ago. And this guy, he plays bata, and so he started doing lessons with Gabi, and that's how I got
Mm,
Gabi's number. And then he was doing these group lessons with Zay, and so that's how I kind of got reconnected with Zay. So I did some lessons with him, and yeah, I have so much recordings to go over, and I did it all on my phone, which I don't know. It's not the best thing, but it's pretty clear. Like I can
It
understand
works.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it worked. I just didn't want to carry anything extra.
Uh-huh.
Um,
sure.
yeah, I did the whole trip with I didn't check any luggage. I did it all carry on. So I tried to like
Wow.
really, really, yeah, like really minimally like strip down like what I was carrying, and um but yeah, with the
Did you bring more back though?
oh yeah, I brought a atabaki, a hum. Um,
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. So my teacher Yuri, like I was asking him about drums. I'm like, where could I'm like, I'm thinking I want to take, the candomblé lead drum, the whom I want to try to get one and bring it back with me, take it back with me. And he was like, you should talk to this guy, Zhao Atabaki. And he's an instrument maker. And he gave me like a deal. He's like, and Yuri told me, he's like, he'll give you a deal if you're one of my students. And so I got a deal from him, and it's a gorgeous drum. Um,
Mm.
gorgeous, gorgeous drum. And so yeah, I was able to like it was like he made it to order, and then went and had to go get a case made for it because these drums are not like it's not like buying a LP Giovanni Quinto where it's like a
Right, right.
uniform size or whatever. It's just like I had to
Yeah.
get a case made for it, and that
Well,
was a
they have
whole.
those crazy legs, right? You can't take them off, or can you?
Yeah, yeah, you could take them off. Well,
Oh,
this
you
one,
can.
yeah, this one it doesn't have legs built into it. But it does come with came with like a metal stand.
Cool.
Mm.
And so yeah, I had to like sort that out. And yeah, on the way, before coming back, my partner and I we like went crazy with wrapping that thing up. We like bought a couple styrofoam ice chests and like broke them apart and like packed it all.
Wow.
Yeah, we did all this stuff. Like yeah, did a bunch of stuff, and it came back totally fine. Like it's
Ah, good.
perfect. It's a
Nice.
gorgeous drum. It sounds so nice. So thank you, Zhao.
Maybe you can send us some pictures and we'll post
Of
on the
course, I'll
website.
definitely do that. I'll definitely do that. Yeah. But
Now,
yeah.
did you also go to Rio and go to Georgie's family's house there, their Tejedo?
Yeah, I went to Rio and I went to Recife as well, and then inland in Bahia. But yeah, so Rio, um, I went to Rio no, July of 2021, so it's more than a year ago. But I spent 3 weeks in Rio, and yeah, we wanted to go for Georgie's birthday because his birthday is in July,
Mm.
and we wanted to be there for that. And so we went and hung out with Georgie there. Actually, hung out with Brian Potts, and I'd met him.
Right
Uh,
on.
I got his info, and so we hung out. We hung out in Rio. Um, Hung out with Brian at least a couple times. Um, we had a nice night. Yeah, we were in Lapa. We went to go see what is it, Banda Un Amo with
Oh yeah,
Talita.
Talita.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it was funny. It was in July because like you'll know about like Festas Juninas and all
Uh-huh.
that, like
Yeah.
Hmm.
São João. So it was in July, so there was Festas Juninas. I'm sorry, Festas Julinas. So it was like we
Julina.
Julinas.
just keep it going. So yeah, yeah. So Talita and the whole group, they were all wearing like overall and flannels and stuff still. It was so good. They were amazing. Yeah, so we went. I met Brian there, Brian and his partner, and then we went, and then we met, and then Brian was talking to folks, and we ended up going to this samba called Samba dos Guimarães. And that's where I met Gustavo
Uh-huh.
Mm.
Salgueiro there. Like
Uh-huh.
he invited us there, and that was a freaking amazing samba up in Santa Teresa up on the hill.
Hmm.
Um, I did a couple lessons with, y'all know Fabricio Hayes?
Oh yeah, from Uruguay.
Yeah, yeah, from Uruguay.
Mm.
He does the candombe stuff. So I was
Yeah.
Hmm.
a big fan of his, and he was super cool. Just like invited me over, or like did some lessons and at his place, and
Uh-huh.
he was really great to connect with. Um, and then yeah, we kind of hit up Georgie, and Georgie had a lot going on, but he's like, come over. So we went to his place in Piedade and got to see the Terreiro there behind where they live, and then we went to a ceremony at Miguel Couto at the kind of the candomblé house that he's been a part of for like 50 years that he's been
Hmm.
initiated into. And so we went to a ceremony for Shango, and we were in um yeah, it was like we weren't sure. We're like, is Georgie gonna play? Like, is he gonna sing? And then yeah, like he got it behind the home, started singing. Like he did everything, and it was kind of like it was wild. It was just like a dream. To be there to see like all this stuff that my partner and I and our community here we've been studying and working on all these years and doing it, since 2014, other people longer, and we kind of been doing all this stuff through through COVID and all this stuff via Zoom, and we get to go to Brazil and see Georgie like in
Mm.
his home space, like leading the music and everything. Um, for this ceremony for his orisha, and it was beautiful. It was amazing, yeah. And he introduced us to a bunch of people and showed us all these pictures, of his his spiritual mother like started that house, and yeah, it was
How
freaking
cool.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, how
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So there's that. There was another thing at their house. I think the day after that, at their little tejeru there they have in Piedade, and then there was one more ceremony. Oh my God, yeah, there was another ceremony that we went to just before leaving Rio. That we went there, and that was gorgeous. That was another amazing ceremony. And so yeah, some other friends from another friend from California was there, and yeah, I got to yeah, uh, super super lucky to have that time there, kind of with that's if it wasn't for Georgie, um, like I wouldn't have been there. So it was nice to bring things kind of full circle there.
Right.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
So have you maintained some of these connections with your teachers down there? Are you doing any online classes with them or anything like that?
I've definitely maintained connection. I haven't done anything online. I did sign up for that one teacher I mentioned, Yuri. He's doing a video course, so I have signed up for that. Other folks I just like chat with here and there. Um, and the people from the university, not so much, but definitely the uh, the drum, the more percussion oriented people, definitely. Yeah, we did this thing with Georgie and a few folks. We went out to DC
Oh,
in
that's right.
end of June, like the yeah Smithsonian Folklife
Hmm.
Festival. And I remember telling some of my teachers and about teachers in Brazil about that, and they were like so psyched. They were so happy that we were going out there and doing that, and yeah, yeah. So yeah, like I wish I had more connection, but as much as I can.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And did you have, was there a culmination to your study there? Did you have to present anything afterwards?
yeah. I had to. So I had to do a presentation at the university. I had to do like just like a little 20-minute talk about my studies and stuff. And it was actually the first day, like they were setting out dates for all these people. And the first day was that they picked was November 4th, which was the day of my first
Oh,
lesson with
wow.
George. Yeah. And then it ended up being like, and then I was like traveling after, so I was like, I could do it then, but then uh, I couldn't do it after. But then they pushed my date back,
Mm,
and I traveled, and then I ended up like almost not doing it, but I was pretty nervous about it, but I was like, I want to do this. And so I did.
mm,
Yeah, and so I did. Like it was in like December. It was actually after like the grant period was technically over, but I still
mhm,
wanted to do this thing, and so yeah, I did like a little presentation, a little talk about kind of introduce myself and my background with the music, and just talked about like things that I had taken away, and kind of how my trip had kind of transformed my understanding of the music, and how
mhm.
it yeah just changed how I thought about it and interpreted it, and yeah, just how I kind of go from there on.
So how did that experience change how you view the music? Like
Mhm.
explain that thought to if you would.
Sure. It's complex. Uh, and it like learning from all these people, from different people, like mainly from Georgie for the past many years, and like I'd get to certain points where I would like just kind of hit a wall. I would just be like, I am not understanding anything anymore, or like I'm just like not getting things, or I'm not yeah, I just stop understanding things. And I do think that I needed to see it. I did need to see what was happening in the ceremony. And I'd known that from before I applied. Like I was like, I need to like be immersed in it. I need to be in this. And so yeah, there's different like for example, there's like different like salute rhythms that like happen when you're playing for like Ogum in a public ceremony, and then like actually like seeing what happens during that part of the ceremony. It's like, oh, okay, I get that
Mm.
this makes sense because this is happening. And so like seeing like for example like seeing those things um made things make more sense. There were drum things like as far as just particular pure like percussion stuff. There's been times where I'm playing like candomblé Angola, which is all like just two hands, no sticks, and Georgie would be like, "You need to use more left hand," um, and I kind of I mean I know what he's saying. I need to use more left hand, or it needs to be more prominent. And then I would like study with other like I studied with this guy who was specifically an Angola person, and um, seeing how he used his left hand and uh, his stuff was very simple, and I would just it would just things would just kind of click and be like, oh, this is what that's what Georgie was talking about, or like not that Georgie wasn't explaining it well, but it was just like it just takes time. It just
Yeah.
takes
Mhm.
time. Um, yeah. What else? I mean, I think just overall, like Brazilians are like a little more like assertive. Like in Brazil, there's just so much going on. There's like when you're like driving or walking or like there's just it's not like anything like rude that people do to like get in front of you or like it's just a different culture. And so I think like that kind of maybe being like a little more assertive in my playing um maybe changed me a little bit. But yeah, and that and with Candomblé specifically, like with this teacher I mentioned, Everaldo, with he was really all about having a strong connection to the dance. Um, we had there was this person Guilherme who was like a kid in the neighborhood. He was like 17. He would like often we did lessons in a garage, and so Guilherme would show up, and we would just see his eyes, and he'd be like, and our teacher would be like, come on in." He would show up, and then they would be talking for a while, and I'd be like, "Why are these folks talking during my lesson?" All that, and then Guilherme would be like, "What are you guys playing?" And then he'd be like, "We're playing for blah blah blah," and then he would like dance for us, and so you know I got to like actually like play in a lesson with my teacher and have like a dance a dancer accompanist like um dance for us and be like the real thing right there all
Mhm.
happening. There was another instance where it was like Guilherme and like another person in the neighborhood and this other Maiji Santo were there, and we ended up playing for my lesson. We played the whole shire, we played the whole public ceremony there, and so I guess I got to like actually like do it. I got to play like whom like in a somewhat private setting for people, and so yeah, just seeing how the rhythms work, actually like doing it, and for me, like really seeing how they connect to the dancer's feet,
Mhm.
like specifically, has really been important. Like there's so many like complex rhythms going on in candomblé, but like just knowing where they connect with the beat, with the dancer's feet, is a lot more simple than these crazy polyrhythmic rhythms. And so yeah, I guess the short answer is just is seeing there. I'm sorry, is being there and seeing it and having the opportunity to play. Yeah,
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, having that context right there in front of you.
exactly.
Um,
It's all about the context. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that suddenly makes sense.
yeah, yeah. It's and like up to the heat and the humidity,
Yes.
and
Yes.
community and family, like geez, like it just like oh like that does all make sense. Like yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
hmm
Yep.
Yeah. Hi.
Oh my
So hi,
God.
Freddie.
Aw. And this one
This is
is
this is Freddie.
Freddie.
Freddie's a
Aw.
skinny pig, so he's mostly hairless,
Skinny pig.
Aw.
and he wants a little
And
treat,
he's
wants
got,
to share a little
does
pink
he
plate.
does he make little noises? Does he squeak and such?
he actually he's different. He makes a little like airy noises. Um, he's like, because they weak when they want their food.
Mm.
Look at that.
Say hey, bud. Yeah,
First guinea pig on the podcast.
yeah, yeah. In Brazil, they're called porquinhos da Índia.
Oh,
They're like Indian pigs. Yeah, I'm gonna take him back, but
okay.
just wanted to say hi.
Hi, Freddie.
Thank you.
I think we talked about that. We at Brazil camp we had a table at lunch and we were all talking about pets. That's like all we talked about. It was so fun.
Was guinea pigs in particular, or just pets?
Guinea pigs, cats,
Everything.
dogs. Remember that lunch we had at Brazil camp, Robert?
Oh, that was
We talked-
epic.
yeah.
That was really good.
That was so much fun.
I was just gonna see like what are you now? You're back.
Yeah.
Lockdown's over. You're back from Brazil. You learned a ton.
Yeah.
Now what are you up to? And you have to
Um,
tell me because I don't know how to come back to the United States from Brazil.
yeah,
I need some
it's
advice.
tough. Yeah. It's like I got hit with culture shock like both ways. Um, but yeah. So what you want to know what I've been up to or what I'm doing or
Yeah. What are you up to? What have you been doing since you got
uh
back?
yeah, I've been doing a pretty good amount of playing, been playing and teaching. I teach at the San Francisco Waldorf High School. I have two classes, like yeah, uh, drumming. It's called drum ensembles. One of the classes, right? Yeah, we do like some samba and some candomblé stuff, and kind of other things, and then another class that's like a introduction to music. It's called exploring music. Get people to play some like small like Orff xylophones and other drum stuff with me. And then I teach at this place, Community Music Center. Both places I taught at before, and I was able to go to Brazil both times and then come back, which is really
Right
great.
on. Yeah, right
Yeah,
on.
community. Yeah, and I think like they all knew that this would make me a better teacher. This would help expand what I've been doing. Um, and yeah, Community Music Center. I teach there private lessons. That school has been in San Francisco for like over 100 years. It's a
Wow.
really cool school, um, nonprofit. And would it be possible to leave like a link about that place and some sort of show
Sure.
notes?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're doing like a fundraising campaign right now, and they're expanding the school. The school's in this old Victorian house, and they with some donors they were able to purchase the building next to it, and so we're gonna have
Mm.
even more space for private and group classes. And I am hoping to do a Brazilian music class there in the somewhat near future. Just got to figure out scheduling. Um, yeah, I teach there, and then I've just been back playing. Came back and we did that, yeah, the Smithsonian Folklife stuff with the group from Oakland with Georgie. Been doing a bunch of other just yeah, like freelance gigs, you know. Playing a bunch of different music. I went on tour with my friends Grex in last July, which is like their like art rock, kind of inspired by like free jazz music. We did just up and down LA and some recording, and then Sacramento, and yeah, just West Coast stuff. But yeah, I've been playing a lot, and it's been really good. It's been really good. And can I mention a couple of things that are coming up in
Yeah,
the
of
near
Of
course.
future?
course.
Do you know when this is gonna come out, more or less?
Pretty soon.
Yeah,
Uh,
cool.
Probably like a week.
Okay, great. Um, I did want to mention that with our community here in the Bay Area, we are having a uh, a ceremony for Oshun. So we're having a little candomblé ceremony on December 10th. That's at the Fika Studios. It's a capoeira studio in West Oakland. So that's December 10th. Probably starts in the afternoon, like 3-ish or something like that. Um,
Can you put
so that's
give us a link and we'll put that on the website so people can go find it.
And we'll put it
Yeah.
on the socials as well.
We had class yesterday, so I mentioned it to Georgie about mentioning it on this, and he was totally cool. And so about that, and yeah, so I'll leave the info for that.
Cool.
And then a couple other things on the near future for me. Um, I've been playing with my friend Joel Rainbow, the music of Harry Nilsson,
Hmm.
December 27th at the Chapel in San Francisco, and December 28th at Moe's Alley in Santa Cruz. And then also, if you're in the Bay, playing with my friends in this group, Grex, at the Ivy Room on January 31st. So not too far away, but not too far in the future either. So yeah, those things, and yeah, hopefully other Brazilian stuff too. I do know that Georgie has a party on he's having a end of the year holiday party on December 17th with some pagode and Batalá and Maracatu Pacifico.
Right on.
Samba Hill, I'll be playing there too. So yeah, there's like some stuff going on, but yeah, those are the main things.
Nice. Now, Robert, have you, like, since you've been back, have people reached out to you for lessons? Or are you keeping that to Georgie?
I haven't had anybody specifically reach out to me about studying candomblé. I'm happy to. I'm more than happy
Hmm.
to work with folks. I've mostly been doing mostly drum set lessons
Hmm.
lately through Community Music Center. But I've had other folks outside of that reach out to me for lessons. Um, and I did years ago. I did speak with Georgie about this. I think when I started teaching at the Waldorf school, I'd be like, hey, Pi, like people been, I played some candomblé things for people, and folks were interested in learning that. Like, is it okay if I teach this? And he's like, you have to. He's like, you have to. Like,
Oh,
you got to teach it. Like, yeah. So
That's
cool.
great.
it's really special, and so yeah. I don't think I've had any specific candomblé people since I've been back. People searching for that music, but I'm super open to it. And yeah, at Community Music Center, they want me to do a class. It's just a matter of figuring out scheduling. So that would be really cool to have. Like in San Francisco, there's a few schools or a few groups like Fogo na Hopa and
Mhm.
what's the other group? Oh, there's another, yeah, but there's like a kind of community. There's a community there that plays a bunch of samba reggae, so that's like kind of a thing there
Mhm.
in in San Francisco specifically, like around the Mission. And there's not anybody teaching candomblé. There's like a bunch of Afro-Cuban stuff too, so it'd be really cool to be able to do that there,
Mhm.
hopefully in the near future.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, Robert. Well, thanks
Thank you.
again for coming on and sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. Really
After a
appreciate it.
couple years.
I know, right? I know. I was in rough shape after, like after that first Fulbright thing. I don't even know. It wouldn't have went well.
Yeah, I think you and I
Uh,
chatted about that, and you're
yeah,
like,
it was,
I'm not
it was,
sure right
it was
now.
really, yeah, it was really hard. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good to
Well, and
wait.
we also the me and Diana and Sylvia, our translator, have also
Mhm.
had some big waves of things coming through our lives. So,
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
we've been really inconsistent about this project, but yeah, sometimes things just other things take over
Hmm.
sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. These
Just
are unpredictable, but yeah, I'm super really really into what y'all are doing, and um, I've listened to a bunch, and not all of them, but yeah, I need to listen to more. But I've been listening to a bunch of them lately, and I'm really into what y'all are sharing. I listen to a lot of podcasts in general, so it's really great to have this because there's not much like it. There's nothing like it. Not that I know of. There's like a few other like super academic
Yeah.
about Brazilian music and stuff, but
uh-huh.
it actually like yeah, I think one of the strengths of this is getting people to tell the stories themselves.
Hmm.
That have
Exactly.
been in it their whole lives or have been studying it for like a part of their lives, like us all here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you have a really unique perspective, and like we don't, I mean, we've done a lot of samba recently, and so it's nice to hear, the Congolese side.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Now you all need to go see more pictures of that skinny pig and pictures of Robert. So you can check that out at thebrazilianbeat.com.
So we have a couple of shout outs this week. Speaking of Ko-fi, as we did earlier, we had some donations from our loyal listeners, Mel Raff, who has listened to us for quite some time now. So we appreciate your support, Mel, and your kind words. Always great to hear from you. And then we also have one from Benjamin Hoyne, a CBC friend out of Virginia. So Benjamin, thank you so much for your contribution, and we appreciate all of our listeners and supporters. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. It seems so exciting when people trust us. You guys trust us with your donations, so thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just nice to hear from people too. So it's always great to hear from listeners.
Also, go check out Sylvia's CD. We got links to that on the website, so go check out her CD, her music.
Sonyu?
Sonyu, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her friend made a music video for my favorite song on the CD, which happens to be a French song.
Mm-hmm.
Her friend made a really cool video. Happened to be in Paris and got a bunch of footage and put together a nice music video for her. So it's such a cool thing.
We'll post that as well.
Yeah.
And it's getting to be that time where people are heading to Brazil.
That's
and if you're going to be there, if you're checking out ensayos or hanging out at the quadras or anything like that, taking lessons, why don't you share some of your photos with us and we can share on our site. And even better if you have a Brazilian Beat shirt on.
You know who I know of that's going to Brazil is our supporter from last week, Terry Tamboris.
Great.
Yes, he's going to be here, I think, during Carnival. So he wants to see the parades and everything, him and his wife. So bring your shirt.
Nice.
Bring your shirt, Terry.
Terry, yeah. We know you have one. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, first time.
Have a great time.
I'm pretty sure it's his first time here. So, yeah.
Nice.
Pretty cool.
So we'll be on the lookout for those photos. Tag us on your pictures.
Yes.
Yeah. And maybe you'll have a sighting of the elusive Courtney.
Am I elusive?
I don't know. I haven't seen you in months, so.
That's true. That's true. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Ciao.